So we identified a few years back the diaspora market is huge. The remittances, just like you mentioned, I think 2024 is over $20 billion. So that's a significant inflow actually for Nigeria in general. When we did a bit more research, it's a significant part of that 20 billion is actually directed at real estate. But typically what surrounds this market for diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora, is there's a lot of opaqueness. So there's a lack of transparency. People are not able to rely. They've had incidences where they send money back and the house isn't there, whether it's to family or whether it's to rogue real estate development companies. So a few years back, we actually started this journey of diaspora. How did we do that? We wanted to build trust, which meant we did some travel. We did some travel to Europe. We did some travel all the way to UK, and we had one outing in the US as well. One of the things we do a lot of is data analytics. So to see where do we get the most inquiries from internationally. And we identified huge numbers in London, Italy, Germany. And I think for the US, it was along the lines of I think it was Texas, a lot of Houston. I think Baltimore as well showed up as somewhere. But we decided to focus on London. That's where we had the largest market. And then of course, accessibility was easier. So we needed to get our name out there. So we wanted to get the brand to them rather than trying to do it the other way, so that they could ask questions, so they can tangibly feel who's the general manager CS, who's the general manager for projects, who is Saadiya Aminu, what does she do? So we wanted to be more visible, and we had some really good outings. The second thing we said is, how do we make it seamless, just like that word means? How do we make it more accessible? What are the things that typically clients outside the country struggle with? So one of them is being able to show the property exists. So we did a lot of due diligence in showing them the titling, showing them the approved designs, BOQs, showing them a past history. One of the things I love about real estate is you can't lie about it. I can't claim to have built 30 estates, because the easy question is, well, where are they? For Urban Shelter, we've been very fortunate and deliberate and intentional. Because we have that track record, we're able to actively go, do the videos, do the pictures, have clients in real time say, we live here, this is an Urban Shelter property, and we showcase that internationally, and that went very well. Thirdly, the other challenge was payments. How do you remit payments directly to the company? And we've discussed with a few of our banks to say, we have clients and this is what they're looking for, how can we make this happen for them? And they've also been really helpful. So we've had a steady growth of diaspora clients. I have to admit, it's something that I've been pushing our marketing team to do more of, and I think we've now been able to do so. We've created what we call the diaspora desk that actually specifically only handles diaspora clients. If it hasn't gone online, that is definitely going online in the next few weeks. And I think that will provide a lot of comfort for clients in diaspora, that there's always somebody at the end of the line or at the end of an email that will respond to them quickly. You know, that chat box that will immediately give them real-time answers, so that they don't feel there's anything being hidden from them. But I'm really excited about that. We've had one project in Lagos that a significant chunk of it was actually clients that are based in the UK. But also it told me also the importance of word of mouth. It was essentially one person buying, but then they visited Nigeria, they visited Lagos, visited a project, loved it, went back and said, friends, come on, buy this, and they did. So you can do a lot on your own independently, but also I think we shouldn't undermine the potential of one individual being a catalyst to opening up a whole new market. So I certainly hope that we can do that more intentionally and more consistently. Yeah. So there are what I call the official tools, and then there are the unofficial tools. Official tools are things like, if you're a young person but you're in some kind of employment, you have a track record of salary remuneration, then you can approach places like Federal Mortgage Bank Nigeria, where you get subsidized mortgage rates that are very, very competitive, or you can go through the commercial banks. Theirs are to significantly higher, but again, it's accessible. So those are what I call the formal channels. What I'm always surprised young people don't do actually is a bit of planning. To be fair, it's not just young people, it's all of us in general. I always start things with the end in mind. Where am I trying to get to? If today I'm trying to become a doctor, I don't wake up and say I'm a doctor. I know that it's a 5-year plan once I enter university. Hopefully not more than 5, it might be more. Let's assume 5 for this argument. But I know that there's a 5 years. I know that I need to be consistent, that I need to work hard, I need to get through the exams and so on and so forth. So if I know I want to own property in 4 or 5 years, what blocks do I need to put in place to do that? Is it a savings plans monthly? Is it some kind of extra hustling to get the money? Or actually, I don't need to do it in 5 years, but there are a group of 4 of us that are very close, that there's a high sense of integrity, there's social cohesion amongst us, and we all want to bring in 2 million naira to get to 10 million naira to buy a shop in Kubwa. I also think when we talk about, we need to demystify this real estate being a big man's game. Absolutely, there are properties worth 1.5 billion naira, and you can, if you have 1.5, 2 billion naira to spend, please come and spend it. But if you also have 5 million, 3 million, 5 million, please also come and spend it. Property also doesn't mean buying a 5-bedroom house. Property might be buying a market stall that is 4, 5 square meter. But your intention then is to always step up. My 1-year plan is the open store. My 2-year plan is a 5 square meter lockup shop. My 5-year plan is a 1-bedroom flat. My 7-year plan. But we have to know that we have to walk before we can run. When I see a lot of young couples getting married and they're looking for a 5-bedroom house, I'm wondering if they're already expecting 5 children all at the same time. If you plan yourself accordingly, I think our dreams, our aspirations for real estate are very, very reachable. My advice is to think with the end game in mind. Think of a savings plan. Either approach the formal sector, so Federal Mortgage Bank or commercial bank, or look at a potential for crowdfunding amongst your family, among friends, even among colleagues that have a high sense of trust with each other. Of course, do the necessary legal work and legal papers and documentation in place. And then you almost have like an investment club where that investment club invests in property. And you grow that portfolio slowly, steadily, or surely. Yeah. So we have a few different payment plans. I find that question very difficult, by the way, because it depends on the project. So you might know that answer, but it depends on the project. Different projects lean itself to different kind of payment plans. There's some projects that you have easily 3 years to pay. It's completely off plan, but that means the client needs to have a lot of trust in you. Off plan means we have just cleared the site, we put a gate and a signboard. So you might not yet know what it's going to be, but because you trust Urban Shelter, you've seen the past work we've done, you can guarantee to a good extent that that's what's going to happen. Because on every project we do, what we've done in the 3D designs is what we've done in reality. You also have that comfort that actually we're going to do what we say we're going to do. Because you know of that history, again, you know that the land belongs to us, that you know that we've done the due diligence, you know that the safety security measures are in place, you know that engineers and architects designed this. So it's not so much of a risk, actually. I would call it an opportunity. So greenfield means nothing has been done, but maybe there's a fence, you know that there's a gate, and this is the project. You start buying at that point. It has a longer gestation period and might take up to 3 years to build, but you get very good bargains at that start because we appreciate the fact that you came very early and you can take 3 years to pay for it. Then there are other projects that you might come and it's already the last 5 units remaining, where you are buying this house, it's already ready to move in. And so there's going to be a much shorter gestation period because the client that came in day 1 and took that time and patience, you know, that person gets kind of, it's that whole theory of the early bird gets the most reward. So there's that. And then different projects in terms of, is it a house, is it a shop, is it a market? That also has a different payment plan for it. But typically it could be anything from 18 months to 36 months in terms of a payment plan, or it might be a bullet payment. It depends. I'm really excited about what the future looks like, but I'm generally an optimistic person. I'm excited about what the future looks like for Nigeria, what the new future looks like for the real estate industry, and what the future looks like in particular for Urban Shelter. So one of the things in terms of our next 5-year, 10-year plan is to grow exponentially in terms of the kind of projects we do. So doing iconic projects, doing projects beyond what I call our bread and butter, which is housing. And to do these multifaceted, multi-dimensional projects that looks like you have Dubai in Abuja, you have Las Vegas in Lagos, and I'm really excited to see some of that. They're now on paper and they're beginning to get into the pre-development stage. Something else I'm really excited to do is to grow in terms of our geographical reach within Nigeria first and then also West Africa. We've been going back and forth on 2 states, Enugu and Kano State. We haven't yet got the right project, but I'm very, very close to it. And I'm really excited about this. So that's something that if we have this interview, hopefully in the next 1 year, I can say to you, we now have projects and footprint in Enugu and Kano State as well. We've done some research across West Africa. We're looking at Senegal, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, and Nigeria as well. And I think some of those countries actually show very good potential for growth. I think these are places that we can extend the kind of projects that we do. We can bring in the kind of portfolio, the professionalism we bring, the quality of product, the customer focus driven way we deliver our services to clients to some of these countries. And I think we can make a real positive impact to the local economy as well. So that's what I look at for Urban Shelter. I can't wait to see the level of talent that we're growing in the company. We seem to constantly be hiring people, but then we're also a company that's growing. What I hope to continue to do is, despite the growth in our numbers, to always have that sense of, even though it's a large company, to have what I call a small company feel. I know people by name, I know people that are getting married, I know people that have children, I know people that it's at Urban Shelter, they've gotten married. In fact, they did their NYSC or their IT at Urban Shelter, then NYSC, and they've grown their career both professionally and then their career in terms of family, personally as well, over the last decade or 15 years. And I'm really privileged to be part of that day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, and I think year-to-year growth. Other things happening in the industry we're keeping an eye of, so things like impact of artificial intelligence on real estate. I'm looking at things along the lines of 3D printing. Does that mean you and I don't have a job? What does it mean that, can we just go and print 1,000 homes and then that's it, we go to sleep? By the press of a button. Sustainability is a big word that I think actually most of us Africans, most of Nigerians, we are sustainable. It means we conserve water. We never waste energy. It means we don't throw away anything. We believe in that efficiency. I think it's actually something very, very innate in Nigerians or in Africans in general, but as a company as well, we're big on sustainability. So one of our cement suppliers, for instance, their whole processing system ensures that their CO2 emissions is substantially less than what is required even by EU standards. That's something we do. As far as possible, we try and source for our products locally so that our materials are not traveling far and wide and polluting air and waters and so on and so forth. Lastly, one of our vertical integration strategies, we use a sister company that produces red bricks, which forms the basis of all of our affordable homes. Now, red bricks tends to be a more sustainable product than normal cement blocks. So that's also something else we do. I'm excited to see where innovation takes us. Innovation, by the way, can be, we're testing out smart water heaters right now and smart water meters as well, actually, so that we can conserve water. We have resolved that all of our common area spaces now go fully solar, so that again it helps with energy costs, but also it helps with the climate. So we're introducing things in stages: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So those would be, I think, surrounding but external to Urban Shelter that I think would affect how we work. But we're living in exciting times. I think I describe this as my most challenging but my best job still. There still isn't anywhere I would rather be. No matter how stressful it gets, no matter even on the bad days, I'm really happy when I see a product that is finished. I'm really happy when I see clients taking over their houses. I get sad when somebody isn't happy, but I'm really glad it's such a very small percentage of people. But I also look at it as a learning opportunity for what I can do better. If it was a service breakdown, how do I ensure we do that service better? If it was a product that wasn't up to their expectations or Urban Shelter standard, how do we ensure that we remain that consistency? Because what we know is what we know of. An example I like to use is a KFC in Nigeria is the same as a KFC in Japan. KFC in Japan is the same as a KFC in the UK. So people have come to expect, what is an Urban Shelter property? It should be the same in Lagos, the same in Abuja, the same in Enugu, God bless us one day, the same in South Africa, the same in Ghana and everywhere else. So yeah. I struggled with this question, but it's a very important question, because also I think it narrows one's mind to actually what really matters. I think one for me personally, and of course that then extended to the whole organization, is 2015. 2015 was very important because the pioneer MD at the time, who had spent 25 years in the organization, was stepping back. And they decided, the governance at the time, the leadership at Urban Shelter, thought a lady called Saadiya would be a good fit for it. And it was one of those occasions where a part of you feels I can do it, but a part of you will struggle. And I remember going to my husband and saying, this is what's happening, what do you think? And he said, your star is rising, go for it, don't even look back. You can absolutely do this, do not doubt yourself. And I straightened my spine. At the time, my youngest daughter was 2 years old, so I was really wondering to myself, how do I combine all of this without disappointing anybody? Went back to the office the next day and I told our chairman, I can do this, but I can do this with the following caveats. And we sat down and I mentioned to him my bold strategy for Urban Shelter. Now, you remember 2015, I think that's when we also had a new government. So there was a lot going on in that economy. It was a very tough time in the economy. You had inflation, a bit like what we're going through now, but you had inflation beginning to rise, interest rates beginning to rise, and the Forex currency depreciation as well. But I was so excited, and I was at an age where I was willing to take risks that I think a number of people were not willing to take risks. I had the leeway to put together a very ambitious management team also that were able to see the vision that I had. Not only just able to see it, but they were willing to fight for that vision. We spent time, hours in the office, day to day. A number of sacrifices were made that to this day I'm not sure how we did it looking 10 years back. But we were bold, we were fearless, we were ambitious. We wanted to do a number of things. We wanted to ensure better streamline of activities. We wanted to become a customer-focused organization. We wanted to get rid of practices. We wanted to ensure quality. So there were a few things we immediately did. We did some right-sizing in the organization. We changed some of the structure of the organization. We boldly kind of did a lot of business development and opened up new projects quickly. We restructured a lot of our debts at the time that were actually becoming quite challenging. We instituted something called a tender board so that I couldn't give my sister work. It had to go through a tender board system that I, at the time, the chief operations officer, could not sign off on. It had to be agreed by 7 people to ensure it was a fair process, to ensure that the very best contractors, the very best supplies were being taken. And so that led to this issue of increasing quality, because then we were getting the best contractors, they were delivering the best, and project managers, supervisors were supervising for quality, they were monitoring for safety and ensuring standards were being met. We also instituted a very bold purchasing policy that allows us to take advantage of manufacturing process, but also supplies of cost effectiveness. And then we did a lot of training. We spent a lot of time on strategy. And when I mentioned that issue of looking for the end in mind, what we started off in 2015 is where we are now, 2025. So that 10-year journey, even though what you see today wasn't where we were 10 years ago, but it took some of that defining moments to get us to where we are. And then, like most of the world, I think globally, I think all of us have to touch on 2020. March 2020 across the world, just globally, was such an impact for everybody professionally and personally. For the first time in our lives, we were told to not work. For the first time in our lives, there was very little understanding of what this mysterious but deadly illness was. Urban Shelter, as a leadership, we sat down with the management team, not sitting down face to face. At the time we were doing WhatsApp actually, because again, Zoom hadn't fully taken off. There was also Skype. There wasn't virtual in terms of Google Meets. So you use the kind of tools available. And we said, what are we going to do? And we looked at our finances and we said, look, it doesn't make sense to just leave everybody. We're going to keep all 300 staff. We're going to pay everybody and we'll just see how this goes. And that's what we did. Nobody was at work, but we were paying staff. Nobody was laid off that entire year. Once October came, we got fully back. We knew that we had missed 6, 7, 8 months of work, so we knew there was a lot of catching up to do. And I will actually take this opportunity to thank everybody at Urban Shelter. Nobody let the ball drop. Not the receptionist, not the tea lady, and not the project manager, not the chairman. Every single person, start to finish, at every layer of management, of leadership, of staff, of board and governance, played a part to say we're not going to let the success of 2015 to 2024, we will rebuild. And I promise you, we rebuilt ourselves brick by brick, brick by brick, pillar by pillar, roof by roof, project by project. And here we are today. It was hard, but it was worth every second. Every single second. Yeah.